So forestry, again, is directly linked to water management. And water management indeed comes with certain challenges because the reality is that we have two distinct seasons in Trinidad and Tobago, dry and wet. In the dry season, we do have our challenges for water, so it's a valuable, sometimes scarce commodity. But however, when rain falls, and you would see flash flooding. So the average person asks themselves, but how could we have water scarcity, but yet we have floods? And the reality is that is because the water is not properly channeled into our aquifers and our systems to retain that water supply. And that is where forestry division comes in. Forest management in Trinidad and Tobago is on two aspects, production and protection. The entire of the northern range, which is our main watershed catchment area, is protection forestry. And how the forestry division is linked directly to water management is that we aim every year to rehabilitate close to 100 hectares in the northern range of replanting. And this replanting is absolutely necessary because, as I said, we have two distinct seasons, the dry season being one of them. And during that dry season, we lose a lot of valuable trees on the hillsides due to forest fires, right, which is a big thing as well. So with respect to these fires, we lose valuable trees, and the trees is what helps us with the infiltration and the percolation of that water into the aquifers. So this is our agency is linked to water management.
So you, as you mentioned before, we are involved in the education side of things. I teach a course in environmental science. And in the first semester, which would have been September to December of 2020, we had the students do something where they were looking at their ecological footprint. And there's a metric that they use, and they identify what are some of the ways that their lifestyle is increasing their ecological footprint. And what was interesting is that many of the students found that they waste a lot of water. And they were starting to recognize, some of the strategies and simple things that they could do every day that will facilitate them being able to save water. And so they were chronicling every week some of the things that they were doing, taking shorter showers, not running the water while they're brushing their teeth. But some of the students actually went on to try to plant trees, other things in their backyards, because they saw that that would have a role in transpiration and some of what Mr. Chipchan just mentioned, that whole idea of increasing the water in a particular area.
Thank you. When we look around at Trinidad and Tobago, we have a lot of challenges. Mr. Jipchan Singh mentioned flooding. We also speak about water shortages. We have water supply issues. So it's a host of things. From your perspective, what do you see as the main challenges that we face today in terms of our water resources and how we manage it on a national scale?
On a national scale, we have to look at the solution, right? Because most of us, we see how the time is great, right? Some don't have to manage it, right? So we need to, in our group, we also do educational outreach programs. In schools, starting from as Chan was saying, right? We have to start from the very young. So we'll go to preschools, where we are now, their mind basically are now being formed, right? So you have to form it in a way where they will take care of the environment, because sustainability is a big thing, right? And in order to have that sustainability level, we have to educate the younger generation. Our council has adopted the motto that we do it for the next generation. So whatever we do, our youth members are involved, right? So our main focus right now is educating on that heavy pollution that we see everywhere. So within our community, we have also started a community recycling program because of the fact when we do river cleanup or waterfall cleanup, the heavy level of solid waste that we see there, we decided to educate our community to avoid it getting in the waterways in the first place, right? So we start educating at the community level. We encourage our community members to sort and separate their waste at the household level, right? So the regular garbage goes with the corporation truck, and our program takes care of the recyclables, the plastic, the butter, the glass, so to prevent it from even getting into the waterway.
Well, I know the time is the time is very limited. That question is very complicated because the issue is this. I am a waterman. I am in the water a lot. When you are in the little boat in the middle of the sea, you wonder sometimes what happened. This happened already. I lost an engine and drift many miles out of Trinidad already. Then you think, okay, what happened if I am in the middle of the sea and I need water? Mm-hmm. And then you laugh and you say, but I am surrounded by water. Mm-hmm. Then that is the situation of Trinidad and Tobago. We are an island. We are surrounded by water. Then we will need to use a lot of philosophy and technicalities and education, etc., to identify really what we're talking here about, because we will talk from the perspective that we are a Trinidad and Tobago island in the Caribbean, or we're talking about the entire planet, because it's people that don't have sea. The people that to reach to the sea, they need to travel miles and miles. Those are in problem. We are not in such a problem. The problem we have is lack of education, lack of directed technology, lack of funding, lack of directed analysis of the realistic problem. The problem we have is, yes, one is the preservation of the natural resource. When I say natural, as sweet water, not salt, no other components directly to drink it, just with a little cleanup, like what we do in Arena Dam. We collect the rainwater, we collect the river waters, we collect the stream waters, then we'll do a little filtration and ready to drink. That is simple to say. That is a lot of work to maintain that running. It requires the forestry, it requires the students, it requires the people, it requires the NGOs, the cleaning campaigns and all this. But on the other hand, we are surrounded by water, and that only requires the proper technology, the proper education in our universities creating, the proper engineering, and then the proper funding, and voila, we have water to export from Trinidad. So we need to identify within the next, within the new normal, really what are we talking about, and we're trying to find a solution only for Trinidad and Tobago, which is simple. Or we're trying to influence the entire planet with our technology. That is food to thoughts. We need to go into that topic. That will require a little extra time.
Yes, and I agree with what Kafan is saying. I thought I came to the easy class this morning. Why you have many hard class? But for me, it is management, regulation. We have to talk about wastewater as well. And, we have a facility that treats that wastewater, but then where does all that water go? And we know that water can be put to additional use as well. And when Dr. Roberts is talking about how students recognize that how much they are using, that there are shortages, we are also not tapping into things that we can tap into, and we have not done so for a long time. So it is, to me, it's overall regulation. We have a lot of water wasting still. And just as Juan said, we are an island. How can we maximize in the right way, sustainably, the use of our resources? So I hate to answer a question with a question, but sometimes those things make me ask more questions. So that would be my response.
Well, the challenges are really vast, and I mean, as the gentleman said, it's a complicated issue as well. But the real evils in water management, for me, from the forestry perspective, is deforestation in all ways and formats, and it comes, as I said, in the ways of forest fires, indiscriminate logging, even squatting, land grabbing, Even so during this pandemic, where it was supposed to be a slow or shutdown period for the country, you would not believe how much indiscriminate land grabbing the issues we had in the forestry division. So with respect to that, and then a point was just mentioned as well, with all this squatting and land grabbing, you also have wastewater now also being generated. And where does that go? You also have additional pollution of waterways, and this is where I think now the key in water management to overcome some of these challenges, the key is co-management, the community effort as well. And I think that is where hand in hand, and if I can speak from the Adopter River aspect, because I am part of the steering committee as well, is that is the key with the education and the co-management of these water courses.
So it sounds to me like we've had all of the answers. As each person was speaking, I said, that was what I was going to say. That was what I was going to say. But I particularly want to use what Mr. Dechansing just said as a jumping off point, and that co-management piece. Because everything that everybody said here, these are things that many people don't know. They're not aware of, they're not incorporating it into their daily lives. And so what we do at our institution is part of that, making people aware. When you flush the toilet, where does that water go? That sense of what happens with the waste. Because you have so many homes that don't have proper sewage systems. And that is going to be part of the issue. So co-management, knowledge, and then taking action.
Okay, so I would like to weigh in here on a couple of issues in terms of the challenges. And yes, we spoke about wastewater. And again, with the challenge of rural and urban development, and again, we recognize as well the use of pharmaceuticals. I remember last year at our symposium at USC on climate change, we had a guest speaker by the name of Dr. Quincy Edwards, and he highlighted actually that in Barbados, they have actually been able to detect pharmaceuticals in wastewater. So the challenge for us in terms of pollution is not only what we see visibly, but what is there in the invisible realm at the micro level. So the challenge would be to actually employ technologies as well as analytical techniques that can get down to that level, because overall, again, with the accumulation of these things, with these pollutants, micropollutants, it can have an impact on overall health. The other thing I would want to say is that in terms of a challenge, I don't know where we are in terms of a country recognizing the need for mandatory recycling. Until we as a people recognize that all of the fallout issues on the environment has been as a result of the fact that we are not doing mandatory recycling, that would actually, that's why we have all these problems. So until we get to the point where we as a country say to the powers that be, we are the ones that saying that we need to have recycling legislation that will impact on every aspect. And that is where that is a challenge we have. And that's a challenge we have to overcome. So pretty much those are my main points in that, yeah.